a bum on Twitter and adding, "Going to the White House was an honor until you showed up." After that happened, Cavs owner Dan Gilbert said this: "I received voicemails after LeBron tweeted that were some of the most vile, disgusting, racist messages. There's an element of racism that I didn't even realize existed in this country this much. Thing is, some of the most disgusting things I've heard people say, and you could hear it in their voice, the racism, it wasn't even really about the issue, and that's what really got me, because they went to who they really are, some of them." Shannon, what's your reaction?
I'm surprised he's surprised. On May 31st, there was something scribbled on LeBron James's Brentwood home gate. I guess Mr. Gilbert, he didn't know anything about that. So let me get this right. What about that email that when LeBron took his talents to South Beach that you wrote? At the bare minimum, that's hate mail. That's at the
refresh everybody's memory about that.
Well, he called, he said, you're self-anointed king, you're entitled, and it's going to be I'm going to win a child. I can promise the people of Cleveland a title before you win one.
Wait a second. In that, he accused LeBron
of
of
quitting
in the final playoff series against Boston before he took his talents to South Beach. Really?
Here's the thing, Skip. A lot of people don't want the truth because the truth would destroy their illusions. Dan Gilbert, like a lot of wealthy white men in America, these issues do not affect them. They're not going to get discriminated against. They're not going to get brutalized by the police. So the issues that affect a lot of minorities in America does not affect them. Therefore, it doesn't affect them. They don't believe it exists. And therein lies the problem, Skip, because here he is. Here's a guy that's worth about $6 billion. Says he did not know an element of this type of racism existed in America. Remember, I told you, he doesn't want the truth because it would destroy the illusion. See, the illusion is for a lot of men in America that racism does not exist. And to them, being on the receiving end of it, they're absolutely correct. But in everyday society, we know that it does exist. Plus the fact, the guy that LeBron James called a bum, Dan Gilbert supported. So Dan Gilbert does not want to think the guy that I supported, that's had been one of the, I think it's fairly safe to say. I go back, I remember when Jimmy Carter got elected. And the only reason he got elected because President Ford pardoned Richard Nixon. Had he not pardoned Nixon, I feel President Nixon feel very comfortable in saying he probably would have won that election. But that's not, so I go back that far. It's hard for me to believe there's been a more divisive president in American history than what the president that's occupying the Oval Office currently. And not that racism did not exist before President Trump got in office, nor will it be exempt once he leaves. But what he's done is that he's driven a wedge even more between the two. And he's made it okay because some of the things that he'll say, some of the things that he'll tweet, if I'm a person saying, hold on, because I remember when the president was the most respected office in the land, and that was an honor. So you're like, well, hold on, the president said this. Took it at his word. Go, face value. But with some of the things that this president will say, some of the things that he will tweet, well, if he says that, it's got to be okay with me because he's held to a higher standard. If he's held to the highest standard and it's okay for him, well, shoot, me? I should be able to say whatever I want to say. I disagree with LeBron. I would not have called him that. I would not have, because I still respect the office of the presidency. I don't have that much. It is hard, Skip. And I said before, it's hard to respect a man who does not respect the office in which he holds. He has no respect for that office. He runs it just like he runs his day-to-day life, his day-to-day Trump organization. But for Dan Gilbert to be so disingenuous, to say, so let me get this, before I turn it over to you, Skip. So let me get this right. So when LeBron finally left, you didn't hear nothing. Ain't nobody say that uppity, you know what, all that money you paid him, Dan Gilbert, I told you that end was, and for you, Dan Gilbert, if you wrote that email and it got released publicly, I'd be a fool. As my grandma used to say, boy, you be a D-fool if I don't think you said words privately.
Yep.
So, Dan Gilbert, stop. You need to stop playing. You and I both know there's an element of racism that exist. It's become more prevalent. The president that's occupying this office has made it okay. He's made it okay to be outwardly, openly, and blatantly. So don't do this, Dan. Don't insult my intelligence. Don't insult LeBron's intelligence. Just, hey, it happened. You wanted to share everybody. You should have shared some of those ones that came in when he left. But you didn't want to say that because guess what? You might have been co-signing. Yeah, you're right now, uppity, you know what? Go ahead, Skip.
I have so many problems with what Dan Gilbert said on CNBC's Squawk Box about, not about LeBron, but about racism, that we don't have enough show for me to tell you all the problems I have. The irony here, the hypocrisy here is suffocating until it's to the point for me of sickening. Because I'm going to remind everybody that Dan Gilbert was a supporter of Donald Trump's and gave $750,000 to the inauguration, not pre-election, but to the inauguration. And I want to point out that on June 28th, when the Chicago Cubs visited the White House, that one Dan Gilbert was on the scene at the White House, reportedly to discuss growth in Midwestern cities, recovery in Midwestern cities. But Donald Trump called Dan Gilbert his friend that day as the Cubs were being celebrated and yelled for, "Where's Dan Gilbert? Get Dan Gilbert in here." Yeah. And then he put Joe Madden, the Cubs manager, up to asking, he said, "Ask Dan how he's getting along with LeBron right now." Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, how he's doing with LeBron right now. Ask him, Joe Madden. And Joe Madden awkwardly asked Dan Gilbert, how are you doing with LeBron? And Dan was horrified. It appeared in the picture, you know, and awkwardly said, "Oh, good. We're doing good right now."
Because what did he say behind closed doors?
Well, the point is that it sounded like President Trump and Dan Gilbert had a conversation about how he was doing with LeBron. And so I don't know if he was just goading him or kidding with him. I better, no. Yeah, okay. So, but the point is that Dan Gilbert became part of the Cubs celebration at the White House. Yeah. And then he dares to try to align himself with LeBron against racism. And here's the other part of the story that does not pass muster to me. In all my years of covering sports, and I did not do any homework on this, so maybe they do have one, but I've never heard of an owner having a public voicemail that anybody can call and leave messages on. I've never heard of it. Maybe Dan Gilbert does have one, or the Cavs have one, but really he checks it himself. Do you realize? Obviously, if your star player is going to call the current president of the United States a bum on Twitter, and you have a public voicemail, oh, it's come one, come all. Yeah. You remember the movie Blazing Saddles? Yes. Where the bad guys lined up to audition for the job, you know, the bad guy job? Well, that line of people, those are the people who would call that voicemail, right? And they're going to leave vile, racist messages because it's like it's an open invitation to anybody to leave one. It's worse than Twitter, right?
Of course.
Okay, so I'm just not buying it. And then for him to be so, to use your word, disingenuous, so blatantly naive, he knows exactly what's going on out there. But then it's like, I'm aligning myself with my man LeBron. We're in this together. We're fighting racism together. That's how it comes across to me.
No,
baloney.
LeBron said, "I'm about to leave you."
Yeah.
Because guess what? That voicemail that he checked was his own phone. He's like, it was
his own phone. Oh, you got a lot of messages.
Yeah. Oh.
You get texted during the show?
Yeah. Skip.
Shannon, you're a star.
They be trying to see me that dog. I told them I'm stopping. Really? I'm a Cowboy fan.
They want you to slip that
black and mild?
Yeah.
I'm going to get on them grapes, though. I had that wine yesterday. I'm about to get on them grapes. But anyway, Hip, think about what's being said when teams lose. When teams lose, what gets said. Can you imagine? Now, no matter what, hey, 320 million Americans, they're a big population that love President Trump. There's some that dislike. I mean, I don't really think there's a middle ground. Either you're on this side of the fence, you're on that side of the fence. And if you say something about him, it's just like some people view President Trump like family. If you attack him, you're attacking their family.
Sure.
They're going to lash out at you.
Absolutely.
So I get it.
You better believe they will.
I get it.
Especially if you go to bum.
Right. But for Dan Gilbert, after what LeBron did in the summer of 2010, to leave, and after the hate email that you sent out, to think
it was a statement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
For him, for Dan Gilbert, and for a large segment, you're right. Racism doesn't exist to them because they will always be unaffected. Who's going to discriminate against a man making $6 billion? That's worth $6 billion, Skip. How does he get denied something? He doesn't. But for the average person, and even when you're black, you can be worth $20 billion. They're going to say he's the richest black man. See, they don't say Bill Gates is the richest white man in the world.
That's true.
They say Bill Gates is the richest man in the world.
But
when black, he's the richest black.
Yep.
Oprah is the wealthiest black woman in the world. See, they always got to put that moniker with there.
I'm not sure. I think she transcended. I think she's like just one of the richest people in the world.
Hey, Oprah.
Yeah.
Show Skip some of them emails you get.
Oh.
But anyway, no, I don't know if they have an email address, but no, she get it too. She gets it. But anyway, Skip, well, for Dan Gilbert to say this, that he doesn't think, I mean, come on.
Well, he said he received voicemails. So these are people that he knows calling him.
Right.
Well,
According to his quote.
No.
Yeah, but I thought he meant like public with the Cavaliers.
No.
His quote says that I received voicemails.
Well, again, I'm taking that as a representative of the franchise.
He received them from him. They call this number. Because
that's a whole different twist.
Because here's the thing, Skip. If somebody sends you something, you don't know that person to begin with. He said they reveal who they are.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really clarify. It could be some people that he is not close with, but...
Was he saying his friends left vile racist messages? Who else has his phone number?
It might have been 45 calling.
Well, I mean...
You lost me there.
The more standout thing to me is just that, we're all saying this exists. Like you're shocked, and I mean, what happened in Charlottesville? You're just in shock that there's racist people in this country.
But that's the thing, though, because here's the thing: if it doesn't affect him, see, he's not affected by it. It doesn't impact him.
Well, of course, it doesn't impact him.
Yeah.
But I mean, he has a television. I'm sure a nice big one.
No.
No.
No, he ain't watching that. He ain't watching television. He got that money machine. Just roll up the more big stacks.
How much trouble are the cows?